Welcome to the Aro Benaiah Show. Today I'm joined by Matthew Peck, a tech and business entrepreneurs who build performance-driven company using automation, data, and smart system. We'll be talking about scaling business processes and what it really takes to grow long term. Mighty, it's really a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to chatting.
Yeah, thank you. So, Mighty, what was it like growing up for you?
So we actually grew up in the middle of the road as far as well off and not having much. We were very average, if you will, along those lines of it. My dad was self-employed. My mom worked a regular job. And I grew up close to family. So that was always the thing. But we didn't live in a neighborhood or a subdivision or anything like that. So growing up, I've been around entrepreneurs my whole life. My dad was an entrepreneur. My granddad was an entrepreneur. It just kind of runs in the blood, if you will. I never intended to become a business owner. I actually originally, when I was growing up, wanted to be a wildlife biologist. And then in high school, that flipped over and I decided that I wanted to own a business and go from there with it. So, typically nothing extraordinary growing up, didn't have magical people telling me what I should do to be successful or anything like that. Just a pretty normal childhood, honestly.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So, Mighty, you started your first company at 18. What pushed you into entrepreneurship that age?
So I grew up doing martial arts from the time I was 5 until even now, right? So part of the fun side of that is growing up through martial arts, I decided I wanted to own a karate school because at 13, I started teaching, started helping in classes and so forth. And as I was going through high school, I decided that I really wanted to open a karate school. And well, as it would happen, I graduated at 17. So when I turned 18, I signed my first building lease and opened the doors up to a karate school, which was the first business. I'll say this much about running a business, and most new entrepreneurs will, I think, resonate with this. You can know your craft really good. I was excellent at martial arts. Championships, no big deal, could teach all day long. But I didn't do nothing about running a business. And so it's a true fact that you can have a skill set, a plumber, electrician, anything like that, and be really good at what you do. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a successful business owner at first, because it's not the same thing.
Yeah, so true.
So it was learning a lot on the fly, the school of hard knocks, if you will.
Yeah, the school of hard knocks. I mean, so you have built company across marketing, e-commerce, and things. What lessons apply across every industry?
So there's a couple things that actually, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. Learning how to delegate and scale is different for every company, but it's also the same. I grew up doing karate and then eventually sold the company and started a marketing agency. And what was interesting is, in marketing, I was really good at marketing. It's one of the reasons my school was successful is because I understood marketing. And scaling it, though, understood meant I had to let go of control. I had to let other people who were better at things that they did do what they do best and let me focus on what I did best. And then as I got into e-commerce, same thing. There were some things I was good at, some things I wasn't good at. I had to understand how to let go of control and let other people who are good at their skill sets do just that. And even in my latest company, it's been the exact same thing over and over again. So the reoccurring theme is know what you're good at and focus on being great at it and let other people be great at what they do to help you grow.
Yeah, knowing what you are good at, and yeah, amazing, amazing. So you focus heavily on system and automation. Why are processes so important for scale?
If you have to do everything on the fly, or if everything's what we call a knee-jerk reaction, it's making a quick choice because something happens, you're being very reactive and not very proactive. Automation helps you take the junk out of your day and focus on what you're doing well. If I had to stop every time something came in and it wasn't automated, I would get nothing else done throughout the day. Again, in my opinion, to be a successful entrepreneur, to be someone who can scale a company up, you have to be able to not focus on the tiny things. You have to be focused on growing your business, not working in your business. Otherwise, you're just another employee who's not going to do it. And I use this analogy a lot because I believe it's relevant for a lot of people. If you want to own a coffee shop, for instance, and you own the coffee shop, right? You're a business owner, you have it. But if you're spending every day pouring the espressos and doing just the counter work, you're not really owning the business as much as you are working in the business. You can't focus on growing from behind the counter. And I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we forget that we have to focus on what's going to move the business forward, not focusing on the small things in the day-to-day operations of what it is. So that's been across the theme everywhere, though.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So how do you know when a business is ready to be scaled versus when it needs a restructure?
So you don't always know that. until after the fact. I worked in some franchises. I worked with franchises in some franchises and so forth. And one thing I'll say is that what works in one business may not work in five businesses. And it may not work in what's 10 business. What works in five may not work in 50. Because as you grow in scale, things become more complicated, right? If you're focused, for instance, if you're growing one location or one spot, you know exactly what to do at the location. But when you have two or three locations and you're not located at them, you don't always know what's going on. So you have to have a system in place to be able to keep track of things so you understand how to grow and scale your business. So I'll say that much. One thing to definitely know as an entrepreneur is know your numbers as far as your business numbers goes, your profit, your loss, your P&Ls, all that good stuff. But also understanding what we call the high level CEO view. You should be able to look at one piece of data or one page and know exactly where your company is at so you know where to focus at to continue moving it forward.
Know your numbers and know where to actually more like, yeah, so that you know what to focus on part time. Yeah, amazing. So what does performance driven business actually means in practical?
So platform driven businesses is using tech stacks to grow your business. When I first started, I'm going to age myself out a little bit here, but when I first started my karate school, I was 18. It was 2003. For reference, Google was started in 2003. Say Google and I were starting, but I say that in growing the company, I grew up with technology. And in growing the company with technology, I learned that I had to adapt. What made me successful in business is understanding that as technology changes, people's interests change, I had to adapt with it. And so the platforms that we use is really what drove us forward. Understanding when Facebook came out and when social media was prevalent and when websites and SEO used to be able to do tricks and hacks to get on the first page of Google, and you can't do that stuff anymore. So we focus heavily on our tech stacks to help us scale because we can't do everything manually. To do everything manually would be absolutely time consuming and expensive. So we focus very heavily on platforms and technology to help us grow and scale the company without getting caught in the weeds of stuff.
Yeah, amazing. Adapting and reworking on it. I think it speaks a whole lot about entrepreneurship, being that in this age and time when AI is coming into being and a whole lot of technology is actually in the market, knowing when to actually more like outgrow the other system that is not working, that is not going to serve your customer well. It's really, really key. Adapting this. It's really key. In fact, adapting should be the new economy when it
It
comes to
really is.
entrepreneurship.
What's interesting is a lot of people, we talk about AI pretty heavily on a lot of shows that I'm on, which is great because a marketing concept we use AI a lot. But one of the things that a lot of people may not realize and understand is AI has been around for a while. We just had a different name for it. We called it automations. So a lot of if this happens, then this happens. If this happens, that happens, and so forth. And so it's been around for a while, but now it's just become more mainstream, but easier for people to use. You don't have to do as much of the back end, connect these wires here and there to make it work. And that's the biggest thing is, again, growing up with the technology. You just, again, aging myself out here, there used to be a website that before AI does what it does now, we had these platforms. You could go to it and connect all your stuff and you could do all these things at one time without thinking about it. So now it's just easier to use. It's more consumer friendly. A lot of people ask if it scares me because of the business I'm in, but we use AI all the time. It's our number one friend, but it's also important to understand that when using AI to grow a company, that you have to understand how to use it. It's not as easy as everyone thinks it may be, and you can't just go top level of scratch the surface here. Like you really have to understand. We always say it's crap in, crap out. If you don't give AI the right instructions, you won't get the right results that you're trying to get.
If you don't give AI the right instruction, you won't get the right results. Yeah, amazing. So how do you use data to make our better business decisions without getting over?
Well, we use so the biggest thing that changed with AI as we've adapted to it is our ability to do research and our ability to make faster decisions because of the research that we have. And again, when I'm using AI to do research on companies or things that I need to accomplish, we're getting a lot of data a lot faster, but I'm not having to form a spreadsheet with all this information I found. I can just get it right there in front of it. So it makes life easy to do. So we're definitely using it as a way to grow and scale from a research standpoint, and then using it to understand some of the decisions that we want to make. We're AI friendly, but we're still people focused.
Yeah, yeah, people focused and AI friendly. Amazing way of actually more like putting it in words. So what were some of the major mistakes that shape how you operate?
Some of the biggest mistakes I've made, man, I've made a lot. A lot of it was not making the decision to delegate sooner and trying to do everything myself was probably the biggest thing that stopped me from growing. Because at the end of the day, I can only grow so much. And I held on to a lot of things I wanted to do because I wanted to be in control of it. But letting go of the control of those things is what helped me move forward in the company, not held me back from it. But it's always a fear. When you're an entrepreneur, you made the decision to go in on it and you made the decision to invest in it. And it's hard to let that go sometimes. It really is. But for me, that was probably my biggest mistake is that I held on to too many things for so long and didn't let them go sooner to let someone else handle them versus me doing it.
Yeah, I mean, because I think a whole lot of entrepreneurs definitely suffer from this, being that there's this notion that the only one that can do it so good, so better, the way I actually want it, compared to delegating it, where you have to give room for growth, you have to give room for understanding. So it's a whole lot for entrepreneurs to start delegating, and the process usually is usually long. I think that we just want to have it figured out. Yeah, I mean, you talk about learning faster than you fail. How can entrepreneur build that
There's a couple different ways that you can really work through. A lot of this for me was a lot of self inward looking to find out what types of things I needed to do and kind of habits I needed to develop. A lot of what I've done, it's funny, right? Because we see things all the time. It's like the top 10 habits of successful entrepreneurs and stuff like that, but it's just not the same for everybody. Talk about getting up at 5 a.m. and meditating and I don't do that. Like, I can't, I'm not that guy. I don't get up every day and start my day off with, 5 chapters in a book. I don't do that. It's really what works for me. I'm also a family guy. I'm a family man. Like I've got kids, I've got a wife. And so everything I do, and that's the one thing and people laugh about a little bit because what's on my phone screen is, remember why you do this. And it's got a photo of them on it. And that's important because when I'm trying to make a decision in my company and I'm trying to figure out what habits I need to create to make those decisions, I always keep one singular thing focused for me, and that's growing. Now, if you're not a family person, if that's not your goal and your goals X amount of dollars, like you just need a constant reminder for it. I've got back there on my bookshelf, it's a Deadpool holding a wad full of fake money. And it's like originally that was my reason for growing a business. Like, let's be honest, I wanted to make more revenue for myself. And so that used to sit at the front of my desk so I had something to focus on and remember why I was making the decision I was making and wasn't moving things forward with it. But a lot of it is just looking inside and figuring out what's important to you and then creating the habits that focus on that. If you focus on that, the results that you're looking for will ultimately come and it'll help you make your decisions of what you need to do later on. Just remember why you're
yeah,
doing it and what moves it forward.
yeah. Remember why you're doing it and why you're doing it for. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Mike. So what is Bedroom Capital and what problem does it solve for successful in?
So, Boardroom Capital is a fintech company. What we are is we're a regulated hedge fund here in the States, and we have created a piece of technology and a platform that goes on top of our hedge fund. So the biggest, and I don't want to say problem, the biggest constraint a lot of hedge funds have is that one, they're super expensive to get into. Two, you don't have any flexibility inside of it. You simply write someone a check and you hope that you get the results that they're saying they're going to get you. And then every month you get a PDF or every quarter you get a PDF to tell you if you're up or down or whatever the case is. So you don't have the ability to make changes as it is. We created a regulated fund that is what's known as a series fund. So we have 13 automated strategies that automatically trade in the markets for people. And what we've allowed is with this platform is we've allowed accredited investors to come on board, create accounts, and ultimately build their own portfolio within the hedge fund. So they can choose between 1 or 5 or 7 strategies, however many they want to, and create their own portfolio inside of this one fund and then monitor it off in the dashboard. So we've combined a fully automated hedge fund with the ability to make changes as you see fit based on what your risk profile is, but it's all transparent. It's all real-time data connected to your account. So you're never waiting on a report. You can see everything as it's happening in the markets.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Such a lovely platform. That would be. So if you are starting over today, Mike, from zero, what with your current knowledge, what will you do first?
Man, I don't know. That's a trick question because I don't know if I would do a lot different because I do believe I have this saying a lot of times that I use is I don't think I would have I don't think I would have wanted things to change from the way they happened, because what happened and the things I did ultimately shaped where I'm at now. I may have handled them different. I don't want the different, in other words, I don't want things to be different that happened, but I may have handled them a little bit differently emotionally than it was. There was a great company I worked with for a while back, and one of the hardest decisions I was made is not being the right person to lead the company. I was the manager of it, and ultimately I wasn't the right person to move the company forward. And that was a pretty hard pill to swallow. But I think if I could go back, I would still want that to happen. But I think I would have handled it differently on my end, because understanding what the growth factor actually meant inside of it. So I don't think I would have done much differently. I maybe would have saved a lot more money than I had originally, and probably made some better investment choices. But that's, hindsight's always 2020. But I would say that I was pretty happy with the way things turned out.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Almighty. So, Mighty, from all things who want to connect with you, who want to reach out to you, where can they reach out and where's the best platform?
Yeah, so the best platform is honestly Instagram. It's Matt at your net coach, and I post a lot of different videos on there, content that relates to entrepreneurs, to fitness, and all the fun things that I like to do. But ultimately, Instagram is probably my favorite platform to connect to people, just because I'm very, very active on it. People can message me, we can chat and answer questions and so forth, and that's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Mighty. Thank you for sharing your journey and practical insight on system, skill, and smart growth. Listener, you can actually connect with Mighty on the link that's going to be on the show note. This has been the Aro Benaiah Show, and once again, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show, Mighty.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it.